vein than before, and not a perfect comparison, but as it relates to the Peace Corps, I was just jotting down what we've heard from the victims, and the common denominator is to change the focus from a culture of blaming the victim to not blaming the victim. So I'm curious to hear about how you are shifting, not you as a person, but the culture of the Peace Corps and the folks that you have in country to shift their focus to blaming the victim and trying to downgrade the crime, and it is a crime, to being more supportive and helping the victim to report the crime, making it easier to report the crime and not blaming the victim. And some of the notes that I was taking down: training for in-country personnel on how to respond to sexual assault survivors. The doctors that you have in country, that they need training in post-rape exams so that they get the evidence that they need in order to present the case in court. Needing advocates in D.C. and throughout in different cities of people who understand what the survivors are going through. Workers' compensation deadlines. To eliminate that deadline, Peace Corps should facilitate interaction among assault victims instead of trying to separate them or downplay the crime that has been perpetrated against them. Having whistleblower and training procedures in place. Also, many of the survivors shared with us, either verbally or in their written statement, talked a lot about the training video that is still being played, and whether that is adequate, that really focuses on the problem, and whether it's still blaming the victim and trying to make it sound like they might be the ones responsible for the crime. Also, the reporting and making that reporting public, which has been a very important part of the college campus change in their culture, is mandating through legislation that they have to report the crimes that are committed on campus. Where are those unsafe places? Is the Peace Corps reevaluating where volunteers are placed? And also the annual volunteer survey, if that is shared with others so that we know where the sexual assaults are taking place. So I would just share those with you, and perhaps you could discuss how that blaming the victim more than anything else is changing in the Peace Corps, and the country selection, whether we are making sure that we have evacuation procedures in place to get those victims out of harm's way. So let me ask you the following questions. The Peace Corps is subject to the 5-year employment rule, which statutorily restricts the tenure of U.S. direct hires, including regional directors, county desks, country desk officers, etc. And the GAO noted, quote, "One factor that may contribute to the Peace Corps' difficulty in implementing its safety and security policies is turnover among key managers." Do you think that this 5-year rule makes it more difficult for the Peace Corps to protect its volunteers? Would you support legislation eliminating this 5-year rule?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Regarding the 5-year rule, it was put in place, of course, by the legendary Sergeant Schreiber when he was director of the Peace Corps, in order to make sure the Peace Corps had a continual flow of fresh blood, return volunteers from the field to help design and continue to implement Peace Corps programs worldwide. I think that there's always a need for fresh blood in any organization, especially, I think, in terms of an agency that focuses on young people around the world volunteering. But at the same time, I'm more than willing to entertain and discuss with you and other members of the committee the aspects of the 5-year rule that might have a direct bearing on our safety and security.
Thank you so much. In response to the survivors' testimony, the agency's frequently asked question brochure and safety and volunteer support brochure asserts that, quote, "Volunteers who are victims of sexual assault can expect to receive extensive support as it relates to their safety, medical, and psychological care, legal options, and continued service with the Peace Corps," end quote. However, the testimony presented to this committee and testimony that I have gotten since we posted this hearing indicated that volunteers in general are inadequately trained on sexual assault issues, are often placed in dangerous situations, that the agency's in-country response frequently fails to meet the survivors' needs, that upon return to the U.S., volunteers often receive hostile rather than supportive treatment, and that institutional obstacles often prevent survivors from receiving long-term medical and mental health care. How do you explain the significant discrepancy between what the brochure says, what the video says, and what has been presented before us?
Madam Chairman, there's no doubt that what these courageous women have done have opened our eyes to a problem that we need to correct, and we need to correct it now, and I want to work with you to do that. I think that, let me just mention one thing about the video. I'm going to replace the video immediately because I've listened very carefully to the victims and their view of the video. We have been over the past few months designing a new revamped training program, which will include also pre-service training. And so we're going to have state-of-the-art. One of the, I think, the important things that we're doing right now is the fact that we're going to be listening and working closely with RAIN. RAIN is, as you know, a preeminent organization. They're going to guide us. I was listening very carefully to the RAIN's representative's testimony this morning. I think that she's provided a roadmap, if you will, of things that we need to follow as we move forward to revamp and reform the Peace Corps. So rest assured that this type of thing of blaming the victim will not continue in the Peace Corps of today.
I thank you so much for your attitude, and I am very confident that those changes will take place. Thank you, Mr. Williams.